Let's move on to events by clicking the Events tab. Wow, a lot of legacy events are being generated from this single Clooz document. In fact, here's a list of the standard events that Clooz might generate from the various document types, depending on what information is available. Actually, the list is even longer because generic documents can contain any type of user-defined event. By expanding an event, we can inspect the details, each of which corresponds to the event fields in Legacy. As before, the checkboxes control what gets exported. So if I didn't want to export this birth event, I can turn it off. Note that some of the items under an event have the checkbox disabled. These are mandatory items. Either turn off the entire event or edit the data to eliminate information you do not want to move to Legacy. Here is a cool tip when looking at birth events. If you want to know how they were determined, hold the cursor over the birth date information. The hint will show you the original information. You should note that we have made no attempt in Clooz to calculate dates down to the specific day. We keep it at a month level and label it as about. For the most part, the census information isn't that accurate regarding age, and we'd be foolish to infer specific dates from such data. If a full date is entered into a birth record document, though, that is what we would show. Dropping down a little further, we see the participants group. This is the information about the person that was entered into the document details. We see there's only one participant to this event, the principal, since the census does not define witness roles for events that we extract from the information. Expanding this person's record shows the details related to him. The name here is what was entered into the document details, which should be the name as it appeared on the actual document. This is exported as an AKA, or also known as. You can choose to include or exclude it in this export. The event notes and source data also appear here. Let's contrast this birth event with the census event, which has multiple people. We handle census events by creating an event for each person listed. If you uncheck someone, they would not receive the census event in Legacy. A few things that are interesting here are the event notes. Clooz builds a summary of the census data for each person's copy of their event notes. You can see what it looks like using the mouse over hint box. You can also edit it using a multi-line editor box by clicking on the little button on the right side of the line when it is in edit mode. Several other lines, such as the source detail and comments, support the multi-line editing. If I scroll down past the other participants, you can see the media files for the event. By default, Clooz will save any images attached to the Clooz document to both the source detail and event itself. You can decide whether to delete any of these, or to edit the caption or description fields which will appear in Legacy. Moving on to the Source tab, we can see it's pretty straightforward. Clooz has made an effort to format the source information consistent with the basic mode for how Legacy displays it, so you can do any manual cleanup you desire on these pages. Note the publication facts is showing the ellipses, the 3 dots, and we can bring up the multi-line editor to edit the entire text here. And then here is the repository page. If we were to click the export button at this point, it would create all these people and events. However, in Legacy, each of the persons would just be there as individuals and not part of any tree. Like this person, for instance, in Legacy. there are no parents or children. You could, of course, use Legacy's own features to include the individuals in their appropriate family groups, but Clooz provides a feature for you to designate the family relationships here on the Families page. Determining the relationships between people and building family units is one of the main tasks in our family history research. It can also be quite challenging. When the document suggests a family relationship might exist, such as the household in a census, Clooz will attempt to capture it. If one has been identified, the Show Suggested Families button will appear. If none can be identified, the button will not appear. I'll click this Show Suggested Families button now, and we can see the family from the census. You should not automatically trust this, though. Perhaps some of the children are from a prior marriage of one of the parents we see here. It's up to the researcher to look at available documents and determine that the family designation is correct. It's easy to make adjustments to this family. Just right-click on it, and you'll be able to add or delete family members, or even add or delete the entire family. You might recall that this household had a second family group. To start a new family, I'm going to click the Add Family button. A selection window appears where I can select the family members and whether or not they are parent or child. Clooz is only building families based on parent-child relationships, which is the way Legacy works. There is no capability in Legacy or Clooz to define any relationships other than parent-child. Additional information is displayed here to assist you in selecting the right people. I will be allowed to select up to 2 parents. After that, all the other members will automatically be labeled as children. So to minimize your mouse clicking, select the 2 parents first. There are cases when you only know 2 people are siblings. You can start a family with only children, or with 1 parent and 1 child. The bottom line requirement is that the family has to include at least 2 people. We've now completed the review of this census document, so I'm going to go ahead and click the Export button. The message tells us the export completed. If there were any errors noted, it would tell us here. If you do happen to see an error, save the log file that is produced and send it to the Clooz support email address for analysis. So let's take a look at the family we just added to Legacy. You can see the parents and children, including the second family, the events for each person, the notes, the sources, and so on. Now let's go back to Clooz and look at a different document type. In this case, a birth record. Like several of the document types in Clooz, the birth record details contain a checkbox labeled Primary. This is to designate whether that person is the one whom the document is focused on. In this case, the newborn baby. When we want to link a person to the birth record who had some other role, we leave the primary box unchecked. I'm going to generically call this sort of person a witness, although the role you enter will probably be more specific. The key fields for witnesses are the event date, their names as it appeared in the document, and their role. When exporting these document types, the main event exported can only support 1 primary person per event. So depending on how many people you mark as primary, Clooz may have difficulty knowing which primary person to export. demonstrate this, I'm going to go ahead and mark the mother as primary, which will give 2 primary people in this document. When I go to export, Clooz is going to ask for some help. You essentially have a choice to make. Should each of the persons marked as primary be given their own event, or is there just one that you want to create the event for this cycle? You can always run the export a second time and make another person primary at that time. In the case of multiple births from a single book, the option to treat all the primary people as having their own birth event would be appropriate. If I had designated people as primary that should have been witnesses, then I would choose the other option and select the right person, which would be a better choice in this case. Of course, you could also choose to cancel the whole export and go back to the document details and correct the primary designations there. Once you make your choice for how to handle the situation, the normal process continues. On the people page, in this case, we see that both of the parents were part of the household in the census record we just exported. You can see the RIN number is now filled in, and in fact, it can't be changed. To decouple this linkage of Clooz to the legacy, we would need to use the Data Transfer Manager. You can also see their information from legacy is now displayed. Looking at the events page, in this case, we see the witnesses for the birth event. I should note that when you're using Legacy 7.5, the witnesses are not going to be exported, since Legacy 7.5 does not support shared events. However, in the upcoming Legacy 8.0, shared events are supported, and these witness events will be exported with their respective roles. Finally, on the Families page, we can see the 2 families that people in this Clooz birth document already belong to in Legacy. People in italics are already in Legacy, and their family relationships can only be changed in Legacy. The people in light gray are other members of the family not mentioned in this Clooz document. Now I'll go ahead and add the new son to this existing family. Note the marriage record identification number from Legacy appears in brackets to the right of the couple's names. Now I'll go ahead and export this. Sometimes when you export a document, you might notice that Legacy is not showing the information that you just exported. You might need to change the view so that it refreshes the display to see the new information. Finally, you can also use the export function for a single person by right-clicking on the people view, or a single source while right-clicking a source on the source view. Or even a single repository while right-clicking a repository. In each case, only the tabs that are applicable to that export item will appear. I hope that you haven't been overwhelmed with all the capabilities in this new export tool for Clooz. If so, go ahead and watch this video again. It is very powerful, and you can save a lot of typing to recreate all these items in Legacy. I hope you enjoy using it. Take a peek at the other training videos as well, and read about all of these features in the Clooz User's Manual. Thanks for watching.